Mr. Chair, we are now live.
Thank you, Sarah. Good evening and welcome to the Town of Ajax Committee of Adjustment meeting for April 27th, 2022. This meeting of the Committee of Adjustment is being held electronically and live streamed on the internet. Due to the COVID-19 emergency and requirements for physical distancing, no in-person attendance is permitted at this meeting. All regular practices and procedures of the committee continue to apply during this electronic meeting. If we encounter any technical difficulties, we may take a brief recess while they are resolved. Thank you for your patience, and we will now proceed with the meeting. Before moving on to the application portion of this evening's meeting, I would like to confirm whether there are any disclosures of interest from members of committee.
There is none.
Okay, seeing none, I will be declaring an interest on application A6/22 for 555 Beck Crescent, as I have a fairly regular working relationship with the applicant. So Lori will chair that item and I'll step out for that application. And if there's no further declarations of interest, we will look for
I move to
adoption of the minutes from the previous meeting. I've lost all. Oh, there we go. Sorry, Cecil. There you go. Sorry, I lost my video for a second.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Move to adopt the minutes of the last meeting.
Great, thank you. And is there a seconder? Wasif, thank you very much. And the minutes from, or sorry, all in favor? Great, the minutes from the previous meeting have been adopted. The committee is bound by the Planning Act to assess each application based upon its ability to meet 4 tests: that the application is minor in nature, is desirable for the appropriate development or use of the lands, and finally is in keeping with the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw. The process for tonight's meeting will be conducted in the following manner. The applicant and or agent will be called upon and at their option may provide a brief description of the minor variance application they have applied for. Committee members may ask questions of the applicant and or agent, after which anyone with a direct interest in the application will be given the opportunity to speak either for or against the application. Once a motion is put forward by a committee member, there will be no further input from the applicant or anyone having an interest in the application. After a decision is made, notice will be sent out and there will be a 20-day appeal period. Anyone having interest in the application may appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal within 20 days of the decision of the committee. After 20 days, the decision will become final and binding. If a building permit or other approvals are required, they may be filed during the appeal period. However, no building permits will be issued until the appeal period is over and the decision becomes final and binding. A respectful decorum during this evening's proceedings is expected of all present. And
Mr. Chair, I think we have an audio issue.
I am the chair of the committee.
Perhaps Lori might want to step in as vice chair for the time being, or I can put the committee on recess, whichever you would prefer.
Do you want to just give Greg a second to come back in, or?
Yep, we can do that. I'm just going to put us on recess, okay? Mr. Chair, we've resumed the live stream.
Great. Thank you. Apologies again, everyone. First application for tonight's meeting is application A4/22 for the property at 2927 Range Line Road. The variance requested is to permit an accessory building in a front yard, whereas the bylaw does not allow an accessory structure to be permitted in the front yard. To permit a total maximum gross floor area of 82 square meters for all accessory buildings and structures, where the bylaw requires a maximum of 10% of the lot area to a maximum floor area of 60 square meters, and to permit a maximum accessory building height of 5.2 meters above established grade, whereas the bylaw permits a maximum permitted height of 4.5 meters above established grade for an accessory structure. Eric, was notice served, and were any responses received?
Notice was served and no responses were received.
Great, thank you. For the applicant, staff have recommended a written report recommending approval of your application subject to two conditions within the staff report. One, that the owner or applicant obtain final approval of land division applications LD 2021-00046 and LD 2021-00047, or this decision shall become null and void. And two, that the subject variance apply only to the lands municipally known as 2927 Range Line Road and the existing accessory buildings and structures as illustrated in the figure figure 2 within the report. And in the event that the subject lands are redeveloped, such variances shall become null and void. For the applicant, have you received a copy of this report?
Yes, I have.
Great. And do you have any questions or comments on the recommendations from staff?
No, I do not on any of the recommendations for staff. I just would like to clarify for any neighbors that may be listening, this is not an application to build or construct additional garages or accessory buildings. It's just to maintain what is already there, because I know there was some concern about that amongst some of my neighbors.
Great, thank you. And sorry, if you wouldn't mind just providing your name for us.
Oh, Isabel Rao-Wasmond. Yeah.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, for members of committee, is there any questions for the applicant or staff? I'm seeing none. Okay, in that case, sorry, Laurie.
Sorry, that's okay. I just wanted to ask the applicant you had just made a comment to clarify. Can you clarify what you just said there? I apologize, what you will not be doing?
Okay, well, in the letters that the neighbors received, it says right on it to permit an accessory building in a front yard. Some of those neighbors thought that I was wanting to build something when in fact it's just retaining what's already existing.
Okay, thank you very much.
I wanted to clarify that for everybody.
Thank you. So follow-up question, if I may, Mr. Chair, to staff. Is there anywhere in the staff report or in what has been issued that states that this is not to build anything additional, that it's just to maintain what's already there?
Through the chair, well, the fact that condition number 2 kind of alludes that it's existing accessory buildings and structures. I don't think there needs to be any other conditions related to that because that kind of sets the stage for that. But yeah, the report outlines that it is just existing. It's a matter of legally recognizing what's there as a result of the land division.
Okay, because it doesn't say existing and like what currently is existing. Does it already add up to this 82 square meters?
Yes, the 82 is what exists. It's 2 buildings, the detached garage and the shed.
So it's literally not possible to put another building on.
Correct. They're already above the 60, which is why the variance is there for existing. So we're not adding additional because that would be above and beyond that as well. So
perfect. Thank you for the clarification. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any further questions from members of committee? Seeing none. Okay. Is there anyone here to speak either for or against the application?
Mr. Chair, there is no one further, but I fear we've lost your connection again. Mr. Chair, are you back?
Oh, okay. Am I back, everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Again, apologies. Sorry, if we can look for a motion, please. Wasif?
Mr. Chair and members of committee, I'd like to move that we approve application A422 for 2927 Rangeline Road for lots 92 and 93, Plan 285, on the basis that it is minor in nature, meets the forecast, and is subject to the two conditions as outlined in the staff report.
Great. Thank you. And is there a seconder on the motion, please? Lori, thank you. And all those in favor? Great. All in favor, application A4/22 for 2927 Rangeline Road is approved, subject to the conditions in the staff report and the 20-day appeal period. Okay. Moving on to application A5/22 for the property at 18 Moreland Crescent. Variance is requested are to permit uncovered steps leading to a below grade entrance within the south interior side yard with a minimum setback of 0.1 meters from the interior side lot line, whereas the bylaw does not allow for steps to encroach into a required side yard setback, and to permit a minimum aggregate setback between uncovered steps and an adjacent dwelling of 0.5 meters as amended by staff, whereas the bylaw requires a 0.3 meter setback on one side and 1.2 meter setback on the other for detached dwellings, with a minimum aggregate setback between dwellings of 1.2 meters. Eric, was notice served, and were any responses received aside from the correspondence sent to us already?
Notice was served, and it was just that one piece of correspondence.
Great, thank you. For the applicant, staff have written a report recommending approval of the application subject to 6 conditions within the 18 Moreland Crescent, and as illustrated in figure 2 within, or this decision shall become null and void. 2, that an obstructed pedestrian path of travel to and from the uncovered steps, as per the Ontario Building Code requirements, shall be maintained at all times on the subject property, or this decision shall become null and void. 3, that the existing air conditioning unit be relocated, as illustrated within figure 2 of the report, or this decision shall become null and void. 4, that any existing utilities be relocated in consultation with the necessary utility agencies in the town's building services section to a location that does not impede access to and from the steps, or this decision shall become null and void. 5, that the owner or applicant maintain the existing drainage on the property, or this decision shall become null and void. And 6, that the owner or applicant obtain all necessary building permits from the town's building services section, or this decision shall become null and void. For the applicant, have you received a copy of this report?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Great. And do you have any questions or comments on the recommendations from staff?
No, Mr. Chair, we are okay with the conditions and we seem satisfied, and we have no objections or any concerns.
Great. Thank you. If you'd like to introduce yourself and if you have any comments on the application, now's your opportunity.
Yes, my name is Abhishek Rajgul, and we are on behalf of the MEM Engineering. We are the applicants on file. And yeah, as you clearly mentioned, that the proposed uncovered steps will be leading to the basement unit proposed, and we shall be complying with all the conditions mentioned here and going through the building permit process.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any questions or comments from members of committee? Mark?
Just through you, Mr. Chair, to staff, just to clarify, there's no relief required then to construct the entrance in general. The relief is specifically required to permit the steps. Is that correct?
Through the chair, yeah, that is correct. The only variance that could potentially come up for, I guess, the door itself would be the minimum 1 meter setback that we have between a door on any facade and a lot line, but it would meet that. So,
okay, thank you. Thank you.
Great. Any further questions from members of the committee?
Mr. Chair, we lost you there for, I think, at least on my end, for a few seconds. Is anybody else hearing Greg right now?
No, I can't. Sorry.
Mr. Chair, have we lost you?
Just in the interest of efficiency, can I propose that maybe we have Lori, you step in? Greg, if you're comfortable with that, if you can hear us.
Okay.
Okay, so I think, Greg, I'm not too sure if you can hear us, but I think I'll just take over for now, just while your connection gets re-established. So I think where we left it off was we had the one question. Did any other members of committee have any comments or questions?
No, I don't.
Okay. And just kind of going through my notice here. Sorry, I apologize. Okay, does anybody in attendance want to speak either for or against this application? I'm gonna see none. Does anyone on the committee want to make a motion for this application? Okay, Mark?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. Would like to make a motion that the committee approves application A5/22, subject to the conditions set forth by staff, seeing that the application is minor in nature and meets the 4 tests.
Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Cecil. Any discussion at all?
No.
Okay, can I please have a vote for all those voting in favor, please? Okay, that is all of us. So this application has been approved. It is subject to the 6, I believe there was 6 conditions in this application. If I'm
correct.
Sorry, I'm playing catch up now. I apologize. And there is a 20-day appeal, to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, committee members, for your cooperation, and thank you, staff.
Thank you. Okay, so I think now we're going to move on to application A6/22. I'm looking to see Greg has stepped away for this application because he has declared an interest in it. So I will be acting as the chair for A6-22 for 555 Back Crescent. The application has been submitted by Noor Architects and Engineers Limited on behalf of Granite Property Nominee Incorporated. The application is requesting to permit a maximum of 23% of the required parking spaces in the front and exterior side yards, regardless of tenure, arranged in multiple rows. The bylaw is 20%. Second, to permit a minimum building height of 1 story and 9.5 meters, and the bylaw is 2 stories and 6 meters. And third, to permit a minimum second floor gross floor area of 0 meters squared, and the bylaw is 25% of the ground floor area, or 600 meters squared, whichever is greater. Greg, can I please confirm that notice was served?
I think you're in, Eric.
Yeah,
Sorry,
through the
Eric,
chair,
I
yes.
apologize.
No
Eric, thank you.
problem. No problem. Yeah, notice was
Sorry.
served and no correspondence was received.
Okay, and for the applicant, have you received a copy of this report?
Good evening, Madam Chair, committee members, staff. Valdemar Nickel from NOR Architects. Yes, thank you. I've received a copy of the report. And
Okay, and
in
so
concurrence with the conditions.
Okay, so just so I can just read out so everybody's aware, the staff has recommended approval of this application based on two conditions. The two conditions are that the owner applicant obtain approval of site plan amendment application SPA 11-21 to the satisfaction of the town, or this decision shall become null and void. And two, that the owner applicant obtain all necessary building permits from the town's building services section, or this decision shall become null and void. So thank you. Again, if you want to introduce yourself and let us know anything you have to say for the application.
Thank you, Madam Chair, committee members and staff. Valdemar Nickel from NOR Architects. And yes, we concur with the recommendations, and thank you. We do believe the application is minor in nature, conforms to the intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw, and is desirable. And thank you for your time and efforts.
Thank you very much. And does anybody on committee have any questions or comments? Cecil?
Yeah, through the chair to the applicant. Not sure whether you have the material in front of you, but can you give us a tour of the minor variances, the application that is currently in front of us, with respect to parking, etc.?
Absolutely. Through you, Madam Chair. Mr. Simpson, if I can ask you to scroll down to the report to the highlighted site plan that describes perhaps the location of where these variances are being requested.
Yeah, it seems to be figure 2.
Thank you. And there's another one subsequent to it. So we have a proposed addition of approximately 50,000 square feet, 100,000 square feet. And it's articulated along the arc of Beck Crescent. And what we're proposing, because the bylaw has a specific section to it, we do have 9.3 meters. The bylaw asks for 2 stories because this is a speculative development, an addition. It does provide for a mezzanine to be put into the future should it be required. However, right now it's an open space, and it does meet the height requirement of having the volume and the massing and the street frontage, creating a nice sense of enclosure. So it does certainly meet the intent with the height there. And there is some parking, and perhaps I'll scroll down if you can, Mr. Simpson, scroll to the next area. Thank you. You'll see the areas highlighted in the rear yard at the north of parking that's in that blue band and those yellow stalls. And if you scroll down some more, Mr. Simpson, there are some at the front which correspond to the articulated nature of how the building steps back following the arc of the street. And if we scroll down to the renderings, this is what we've applied for, and this is where the parking will be located. So it's proximate to the front entrances of these new units that are being proposed. Is that adequate, or would you like additional details? Or
no, I think that thank you very much. I think you've covered that pretty well. I was wondering with the reconfiguration of the parking, whether there's been any challenges to meet the requirements for accessible parking, and how was that addressed?
That is an excellent question and actually pertains directly to the location being proximate to the entrances of these various units. So we have considered that, and yes, in terms of accessibility and having the parking variance approved provides closer accessibility to the multiple entrances and multiple units, as opposed to it all being in the rear of the building and folks having to go all the way around the perimeter of the building in the middle of February. Is certainly not a fun task to do.
Yes, and thank you very much. And I was kind of wondering what challenges there might have been in terms of the traffic around this building with respect to accessible parking traffic, for example.
Well, we have, thank you, sir. And through you, Madam Chair, or Madam Vice Chair, Acting Chair, thank you. My apologies for the nuances. We have gone through site plan approval for 1 year. We've filed 3 resubmissions, and within those resubmissions to site plan approval, we have addressed accessibility. And in addition, the AODA under the Ontario Building Code will ensure that there is that proximity and access. And, you know, we've got a really great opportunity here because the articulated nature of the building, we have options to slide in some parking close to it and screen it with some landscaping and have it clearly visually distinctive, that you're not circling around the building looking for where unit 2 or unit 3 may be.
Exactly.
So that has been considered and vetted by staff. I can certainly go into greater detail, but in the interest of time, we've gone through that exercise in quite a bit of detail.
No, I think that's fine. Thank you very much for that explanation. And Madam Chair, if you may, I've got one final question. Doesn't really relate to the application. I see some trees around there, and I was kind of wondering whether what I'm seeing is the final landscaping plan that will be at this facility, or is there a more comprehensive landscaping plan to go with it? Again, it's not part of the minor variance that we are dealing with, but I wonder whether you can shed some light on that.
Through you, Madam Chair, if I may, we certainly have a landscape plan and planting plan that has been circulated through site plan approval. There is more landscaping, though this, I believe, is indicative of where the street trees are planted. So if there is, Mr. Simpson, I don't have the ability to pull up a landscape plan on short notice, but I am happy to discuss it if there is specific attributes of tree locations or species or other attributes of it.
No, that'll be fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam Acting Chair.
Thank you. Anyone else on committee have any questions or comments? Mark?
Yeah, through Madam Acting Chair to staff. The relief, if I understand it correctly, the relief requested is related to the location of the parking spaces and what percentage of them are in the front and side. However, the total number of parking spaces still meets the bylaw. Is that correct?
Through the chair, that is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. Any other committee members who have any comments or questions? Okay, seeing none. Is there anyone in attendance who would like to speak either for or against this application? Okay, seeing none, would anyone on committee like to make a motion in regards to this application? Cecil?
Madam Chair, I move to approve minor variance application A622 for 555 Beck Crescent, subject to all staff conditions as it is minor in nature, appropriate for the development and use of the land, and it's in keeping with the general intent of the zoning bylaws and official plan. I move to approve.
Thank you. And do we have a seconder? Thank you, Mark. Any discussion at all? Okay, seeing none, may I please have a vote in favor? Okay, it looks like we're all in favor of this application. So just to let you know that your application has been approved subject to the conditions that have been outlined in the staff report. And there will be a 20-day appeal period with the Ontario Land Tribunal.
Thank you, Madam Chair, committee members, staff for your time, and have a good evening.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Good night.
Good night. Okay, so we'll see if Greg can make it back with us. And then if Greg gets a little bit glitchy again, then I'll just jump in.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Moving on to application A7/22 for 60 Warrenford Circle. Variances requested are to permit uncovered steps leading to a below-grade entrance within the south interior side yard with a minimum setback of 0.2 meters from the interior side lot line, whereas the bylaw does not permit steps to encroach into a required interior side yard and requires a semi-detached dwelling to have an interior side lot line setback of 1.0 meter on one side and 0 meters on the other. Eric, was notice served and were any responses received?
Notice was served and no responses were received.
Okay, thank you. For the applicant, staff have written a report recommending approval of the application subject to 5 conditions within the report. 1, that the subject variance apply only to the property municipally known as 60 Warrenford Circle, as illustrated as figure 2 within the report, or this decision shall become null and void. 2, that the existing air conditioning unit be relocated to the satisfaction of the town, or this decision shall become null and void. 3, that the existing gas meter be relocated in consultation with Enbridge Gas to the satisfaction of the town to a location that does not impede access to or from the uncovered steps, or this decision shall become null and void. 4, that the owner or applicant maintain the existing drainage on the property, or this decision shall become null and void. And 5, that the owner or applicant obtain all necessary building permits from the town's building services section, or this decision shall become null and void. For the applicant, have you received a copy of this report?
Yes, we have.
Great. And do you have any questions or comments on the recommendations from staff?
No, we've reviewed them and we accept all of them.
Great, thank you. If you don't mind introducing yourself and if you have any comments you'd like to make on the application for members of committee, now is your opportunity.
My name is Zarar Siddiqui. I represent Canadian Infrastructure Design Consultants on behalf of the clients Simmerpreet Singh and Amruta Vijayanand. I don't have any further questions of the committee, but if they have of me, I would be happy to answer them.
Great, thank you. Members of committee, is there any questions for the applicant or staff? Seeing none. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here to speak either for or against the application this evening? Okay, seeing none. In that case, if we can look for a motion, please. Wasif?
Mr. Chair, through you, I'd like to propose that the committee approve application A7/22 for 60 Warrenford Circle on the basis that it is minor in nature, meets the 4 tests, and subject to the 5 conditions as outlined in the staff report.
Great. Thank you, Wasif. And is there a seconder on that motion? Cecil? Thank you. And all those in favor? Great. All in favor, application A7/22 for 60 Warrenford Crescent is approved, subject to the 20-day appeal period and the conditions within the staff report. Okay, and moving on to our final application for this evening, application A/22 for the property at 2963 Range Line Road. Variances requested are to permit a minimum setback from the front lot line of 6.7 meters, whereas the bylaw requires a minimum front lot line setback of 7.62 meters, and to permit a maximum lot coverage of 44%, whereas the bylaw requires a maximum lot coverage of 33% or 150.96 square meters, whichever is less, for a lot with an area less than 603.85 square meters. Eric, was notice served and were any responses received?
Notice was served and no responses were received.
Great, thank you. For the applicant, staff have written a report recommending approval of the application subject to two conditions. One, that the owner or applicant obtain site approval of site plan application SP5/21 to the satisfaction of the town, or this decision shall become null and void. And two, that the owner or applicant obtain all necessary building permits for the town's building services section, or this decision shall become null and void. For the applicant, have you received a copy of this report?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Great, thank you. And do you have any questions or comments on the recommendations from staff?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Great, thank you. So for the applicant, if you'd like to take this opportunity to introduce yourself, and if you have any comments or additional information you'd like to provide for committee, now is your chance.
My name is Raj Sivanandaraja. I'm actually the agent for the owner, Karthik. I don't have any comments other than you just specified, Mr. Chairman. The only thing is the front yard setback of 6.7 meters was previously approved by the committee at the time of my client purchased this property. The previous owner went through some design and got this approval, so we haven't changed anything. The only thing we have is, other than that, the only thing we have is the lot coverage percentage of originally we had 41.5%. With the blessings of from the staff, we increased it to 44%, just in case if you have to add any extra space, which is sort of 10 square meters. Other than that, those are the only two we have.
Thank you. And sorry, just to clarify on your comment, and perhaps the staff can confirm, the extra 10 square meters is to accommodate a potential future shed, not to be added to the actual dwelling, correct?
Correct.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Just members of committee have any questions for the applicant? Laurie?
I'm not sure if this is for the applicant or staff through the chair, just more out of curiosity. In the other comments in the staff report, I noticed that the design services, they make a reference to the fact that the applicant has obtained consent from the abutting owners to remove trees. Is there any need or desire for those trees to be replaced in any way, shape, or form?
Yes, Madam. That's part of their arborist report. So whatever the trees that were included for removal, there's a compensation in terms of money and replacement of trees. It appears to be that we have to compensate money to the township so that the city can plant the trees accordingly based on their plan.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any further questions for the applicant? Seeing none. Okay. Is there anyone here to speak either for or against the application? Seeing none, in that case, if we could look for a motion, please. Laurie, I think I saw your hand first.
Thank you very much. I motion that we approve application A8-22 for 2963 Range Line Road, based that it is minor and meets the 4 tests, provided that the 2 conditions are met.
Great, thank you. And is there a seconder on the motion? Wasif, seconded by Wasif. Thank you. And all those in favor? All All in favor, application A/22 for 2963 Range Line Road is approved, subject to the conditions within the staff report and the 20-day appeal period.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and the committee and the staff for giving us the opportunity and approving it. Have a good night.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
Yes.
Okay, and that concludes the application portion of this evening's meeting. Do we have any other or new business to discuss before we adjourn? Seeing none, in that case, we can look for a motion to adjourn, please. Lori? And is there a seconder? Mark, thank you. All those in favor? All in favor? This evening's meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.